Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This is a squirrel video and it'll hopefully be short, but it was inspired by a couple of different things. I recently received this older wildflowers book from a friend, and it's based in or it was printed in the UK, so it's Wildflowers of the UK, and I loved it. And when I flipped through, I saw that there were a lot of yellow, flowers with yellow. So I thought, I'm going to do a yellow flower book or a mini journal. And then I've been watching or looking at different bags that I've received. And so I'm going to use a variety of bags to make that journal. And for weeks, I've been wanting to do these collage strips that Gail has made. She said she was inspired by Gina at Firefly Studio 67. So Gail Augustinelli made them, but she did them slightly differently. Hers have more dimension and layers. And because I knew I was going to be using these yellow flowers throughout the book to add to these pieces, I deliberately wanted to keep them flat. And I made these this morning and I liked them so much I thought, I'm going to make more. And then I thought, well, maybe if I just turn on my camera as I make more, it could inspire somebody else to do something similar. So that's what we're doing. Super quick, well, relatively super quick, a whole lot of fun. And I'd forgotten how much I really enjoy my mixed media playing. So what I used for this, now that's the beauty of it. You use whatever you've got. You don't have to purchase anything. I mean, unless you don't have any crafting supplies, but it's things that most of us that play with paper have on hand. And I will show you what I did. I used these three inks from the Tim Holtz archival ink. And yes, I haven't watched the video, but I saw that he has a new release. And yes, I will certainly get those colors because I love them. But the ones I used for this project are Chrome Yellow, Orange Blossom, and Fern Green. And again, I chose these simply because I knew that I would be working with colors that complemented that in the book. Well, of course, the page I turned to doesn't have any yellow flowers, but I knew that they would work together with this, which was my whole goal. So those are the ink colors that I use, and my first step was ink and stamps. And these happen to be wood-mounted stamps, but again, anything will work. This one is Country Burlap, and it is I don't even know. I can't even read that. It looks like the old Stampin' Up. No, not Stampin' Up. The other one, Close to My Heart, or whatever it changed names to. So that was this stamp. And then I used, I don't even know. Okay, that's too little for my brain or for my eyeballs. Maybe you can see that. And these are all older stamps. None of them are even remotely new. And I used this one, but I'm not going to use this one this time simply because I didn't like the big splotches of yellow. But I did. Oh, here you go, 2007 Stampin' Up. This is just, I don't want anybody to think you have to focus on which stamps to use. Just use stamps that you enjoy that have a variety of interest. And then I used two different script stamps. This one is a Hero Arts old French writing stamp. And then this is one that no, I don't even know. I think I probably got it at a yard sale. Just a variety of things again. So those are the stamps I used. Those are the inks that I used. And then, whoops, sorry about that. Threw it on the floor. And then I used, let's see, some just cheap old acrylic. I could have dug through and found my decent acrylic, but for the splatters, it didn't really matter. I used some black acrylic paint. And then I had these. Somebody had gifted me these, I think. And I thought they'd be really cool. Iridescent bright gold and rich copper, simply because I wanted a little bit, of color in there. I don't know how well you can see that, but it gives it a fun sheen and sparkle. And those are the supplies that I used. Then, to start, I have just a pad of tracing paper. Simple 50 sheets, 9 by 12, transparent, smooth surface, Nina, I guess it's Nina brand. Doesn't matter at all. Probably got this at one of the craft stores. I'm just going to use one sheet of this. And because it's 9 inches wide, I'm going to tear them at 3-inch strips. And I know you can't see the top of my ruler, but really it doesn't matter for this. So I'm going to tear them into 3-inch strips. And they don't have to be perfect because, again, it's going to be used for collage. And that's actually what I was doing. I'm waiting for, I was playing with clusters because I like clusters and I make them a lot, and I needed some more. And then it got me thinking, well, how many different ways do I do clusters? And so I'm in the process of making a cluster video, and these are one of the things that I wanted to share, the mixed media piece on different ways to make clusters. But since I wanted to make more of these anyway, I thought I might as well bring along. So that's coming up also very, very soon. It's almost done. I'm just waiting for some things to dry. 10 ways to make clusters. All right, so I've got 3-inch strips, and this was 12-inch paper, but I guess that doesn't really matter. And then I've got my work surface to protect my desktop, but to be honest, it's splattered everywhere. And that's okay because it's my craft room and it's cleanable. All right, I'm going to lay these down. And my first step was to, let's see what colors. I want them to emulate what I did before because I'm going to use them in the same book. So I took my large stamp pad, and I got these mini archival ones simply because they came in a set. I had a coupon back when the stores did coupons. They've had these for a while, and it's a convenient size. I don't use them enough to justify getting full-size pads, and these work absolutely fine for the amount of time that I use them. It gives me a lot of colors for not a lot of output. And I couldn't tell you. I know they're Ranger, they're archival ink pads, but I don't know which set comes with which. But I believe they come in 4 packs or 6 packs or something like that. All right, so I put those, laid them out together, and then I'm going to just start stamping. And they don't have to be perfect. The beauty of this technique is nothing has to be perfect. And let's go like that. Missed a spot there, and missed a spot there, and calling that good. All right, so that was the orange blossom, I think is what it's called. And then the next one I did was green, and I did these cool dots. I just thought that was a really fun stamp. I think I got it at Impress Rubber Stamp in Tequila, but I don't know that for sure, but I believe I did it. Okay, and now I'm going to randomly stamp some green dots. I don't want them too close together, but I do want them. Okay. It seems to be that 4 per sheet works pretty well. Okay. All right. So that's the fern green. Yeah, fern green. And then the last one was the yellow, which was chrome yellow. And like I said, I didn't love the way the big solid stamp looked. It was too bold, but I really liked this little circly stamp. It's dots also, so it kind of carries them together. And I'm just going to randomly stamp that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times on a sheet. Yeah, maybe some over here and over here. There we go. And you can see it's just kind of, now it's got to be lined up. I'm trying really hard to get over my type A. Everything has to be done a certain way personality. And this is a great project if you're a person who's struggling with that or trying to overcome that, because it kind of forces you to be random. It forces you to look at things a little bit differently. All right, I had that turned that way. This is much easier to see. All right, so I've got that step done. I've used my yellow, orange, and green stamps, or ink pads, and I've used the stamps with those. And now I'm going to come with the script. And like I said, you don't have to use both, you can just use one, but I really liked the effect of using both, so I'm gonna use it. And then I used the Ranger Archival ink pad for that because it won't smear when I add a different medium. So I'm inking up my stamp, and then I'm just randomly, lightly stamping it. Turn it sideways, turn it front, back. You notice I don't ink it up each time. I'm just inking it the once. Oh, all right, calling that good. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one, but I'm going to try to get a little bit different spots. There's a camera in my face, so it may look a little different than it did last time, but that's okay. They don't need to look the same. And it's kind of disconcerting because I use this as my off pad, and you can see the images underneath, so it makes me worry that I've got too much in one spot when I really don't, because it's the underneath that's showing. Okay, I'm going to flip this thing over, but you know what? Maybe that's not a great idea because I believe the other side's super shiny. Yeah, well, it'll work. Oh, it's easier to see that way. Okay, good. It's easier for me to see too. So that's maybe something to keep in mind as you're creating your own, if you choose to do something like this. You've got your stamp overages, but it makes it kind of hard to see what you have and what you don't have sometimes. All right, so randomly stamping this as well. There, can go between the two. All right, now when I'm all said and done, I'm going to use these for collage and for clusters and for backgrounds. Maybe I'll make an envelope or something like that with it. But I'm keeping it one-dimensional on purpose because I'm going to use the images from the book, and I'll probably use some Tracy labels. There's this new set that I'm absolutely in love with. It's called Carte Postale from Creative Expressions, and I know there's a glare on there, sorry. It has got outlines, and it's got a variety of fonts. Now, Darkroom Door makes some fabulous one. Carrie from Witchcraft Do You Do. Tim Holtz has some, but I like the variety of fonts and the age of fonts on that. So that's why I'm using that one. So I'll do that at the very end when I'm ready to tear it into strips or collage and use it with the actual book. But I'm just getting the background set. And so this is something that'd be really nice to have on hand. All right, so that's all the stamping I'm going to do with these. And now I'm going to play with the splatters. All right, this is just some of this Crafters acrylic poured into the bowl, and then I sprayed it with water. Now, I am kind of like use what you have, but I have to admit I broke down and bought the Tim Holtz splatter brush, and I'm really glad I did because I have more control over the splatters with these than with anything else I've used. And when I want that, it's really nice to have that option. So I am going to make some splatters. And then I watched Tim Holtz, and he does it kind of like this, pulls it back and let her go. And I'm watching it on my camera. It's different than watching it right in front of me. And just doing some splatters. All right, a little bit over there, a little bit over there. And you can see I haven't had to reload this. I just want a bunch of little splatters. And it works great. So I've got my splatters. Now normally I'd run to because I'm in the garage, I'm right next to the laundry room, which has a utility sink, and normally I'd run over there, but since I still haven't mastered the pause and start, I'm just going to use my baby wipe and wipe this down because I don't really care if there's a tiny bit of black in it because it's going on the same thing. All right, because I really like this brush. I'll probably end up getting another one at some point. Really pleased with it. Oh, you can see how well it comes out just doing it that way. Not perfect, but for the sake of this, it'll work just fine. Right, then I'm going to use, I think, some of this copper, rich iridescent copper Liquitex, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. I'm going to put it in. These bowls are, when you go to Metropolitan Market, which is a local area grocery, they have chicken pot pie that's really, really good. So when I buy it, you have to pay a deposit for this, and it's not close to me, so I don't get back to return these very often, so I just kind of use them in my craft room. All right, just a little bit of this copper. And I'm going to do the same thing and thin it down with just a little bit of water. I don't know how much, just guessed. And I don't want this to be quite as bold as the black. And now on my other one, I used my heat tool to dry it, but you certainly don't need to do that for the sake of this because they don't bleed together. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add some splatters. And I don't want a ton, but I want some color on each piece. Maybe there's a little bit of black mixed in there. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah, the copper doesn't seem as bold as it was on the other one. Maybe I watered it down too much. So something to keep in mind. It still gives a great copper feel, so I'm not disappointed with it, but the other one seemed like it was a bit more bold. And that, again, might have to do with how much water I added. All right, so that's the copper. I honestly don't know with these, if I mix the copper and the gold, what it's going to do. Is it going to turn like a muddy brown? I don't know. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just wiping these blades of the splatter brush And then I'm going to do the same thing I just did with the copper, with the gold, but this time I'm going to use a little bit less water and see if that's what it was. I'm just going to use a little bit less. No, wrong color. This one. Here's the gold. Iridescent bright gold. I'll do a couple squirts. I don't know how much I need. A couple squirts of that. Some people might be, and the people who are true mixed media artists might be saying, no, you don't need nearly that much, but I'm not going to add as much water this time. I'm going to go lighter. And mix that up, and let's see if that gives me thicker droplets. It should, in theory. Oh yeah, it does. It gives me much thicker droplets. Okay. Turning it around. And then when it dries, I used my heat tool to dry it, and when it dries, it gives you, a little bit more shimmery dry look. All right, I think I'm going to call that good. Okay, and so that is all there is to it. That is how I made these fun background strips. And this is what they look like when they're dry. And again, when Gail did it, and I haven't watched Gina's video, but when Gail did it, she added the colored, or the paper, the collage bits. But I'm going to wait on that because of how I intend to use them. All right, I hope that gave you an idea. I hope it encouraged you to play, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care and happy creating.